So I went outside and I'm feeling so much guilt. And I was like, once you get off that chair, like I need to know how to, like I need to be cool because you're going to be so annoyed. Like I was just like, one thing is like, you're going to be so annoyed with her when you look at yourself. And you might, like if I was, like I was thinking like, if I was in that situation first, I would have refused to pay. Like she did such a bad job that we should not, I feel like we should not have paid.
Yeah.
And then second was just like, oh, this is gonna ruin our evening. You know, it was a Sunday evening. We were gonna come home and have dinner together, and I was just like, oh, this is gonna ruin our evening. You're gonna be in such bad mood. But I was just thinking like, if I had a haircut that I didn't want to have anyway, and
because I had forced you to go get a haircut.
Yeah, and then it turned out to be that bad. Like you'd be sleeping on the couch.
Yeah. So in some ways, my like one of the good things about that is that I've got a little bit of credit, right? I've got mistake credit, because if I make a mistake again, I'm gonna be okay. I'm like just remember the haircut, remember the gashes on my neck, remember my bloody ear.
And also like I had a friend, my friend Robin, I remember him saying like he got a haircut once in Detroit and he looked at himself and he was like 39 at the time, and he was like, I just looked at myself and I wept.
Yeah.
You know, so I know like the horrors of like what it looks like when you get a bad haircut. Right. When I had dreadlocks and I cut them, like I looked at myself in the mirror after I cut them and I really like I cried. You know, there's like something attached to our hair and like the way we do our hair and the way it makes us feel. Even though you don't have any hair, you still like still have a style.
Yeah, and you still have to do something with it. It's not, you know. So I think one of the things that came up that was actually was we started talking about how when in a relationship, when one person sort of insists on something or has a strong preference or a strong recommendation, and then whatever it is goes awry, that can put quite a bit of strain on the relationship. And we kind of looked back at a few events that could have been very difficult.
Yeah, so in this case, she finished and you were not. I was like, are you annoyed with me? Like, I was like, felt like I was walking on eggshells. I was like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, I thought for sure 100% you're going to be annoyed with me, with her, and like with the whole situation. But you were like, it's hair, it's going to grow.
Yeah, and it's an ear. The hair grows and the ear heals. And my neck will heal. So it was a little bit of there was actually that moment of lying back in the chair and relaxing. And even when like, God, it hurt, I was like, I'm just not going to say anything. Because at that point it was kind of, maybe it wasn't too late. And maybe I should have just grabbed it and said, this is ridiculous. But I was already frustrated to the point where I just said, you know what, rather than going deeper into the frustration, I'm just going to kind of surf through this. Yeah, and I think some surfing through rather than resisting. At the end of the day, we had a perfectly fine evening. Yeah. It didn't impact anything, except one of the things then that was kind of fun was talking about what are some of the other events that could have gone bad, right? So there were two that really popped up. One was when we moved to Kenya. This is another one for me. It was you wanted to come back, and this is your home. So when there were some times where we've had challenges, things have gone bad or whatever it was.
Yeah, like exactly like in this moment is like we're stuck and stranded here.
Right.
And
we can't leave Kenya.
And it's like it was my idea to be here, spend the year here. So in some ways like you do feel like that responsibility because you were the one in the relationship that came up with the idea.
Right. And actually I hate that more than I hate the other way around. You know, for me to be like, what happened? If I had been the person saying, just go get your haircut, come on, quit being such a baby, just do it today, and then you didn't turn out bad, I would have felt way worse than it being the other way around. Because you know what, okay, I can take it, but there's also something, not even I can take it, there's something about knowing for me that I've done something that had a negative impact on somebody else that I really don't like. So in our situation with the haircut, that was worse. The reverse of that was when we were getting your mother's property. No, when we were getting your mom property,
mm-hmm.
right? And at the end, it kind of came down between two pieces of property in an area that your mom wanted to live in. And one has this beautiful view of Lake Elementaita. It's just this beautiful small property. It's not big, but it's small, but it's just got this amazing view. And then the other one was in a little bit of a valley next to a gully that fills with water during the rainy season. And it wasn't a really nice location, but there were a lot of other people in that area. So at the end of the day, I was like, you know what, this one on the hillside.
Yeah, but she kind of wanted that one.
Which one?
The one down below in the valley.
Did she really?
She did, because remember, like, when we went to buy that property, there was like that lady that my mom became friends with, and there was like the next door neighbor. So she had neighbors where she kind of felt like she already knew them.
But at that point, your mom was kind of 50-50, I think, because we looked at both, and I said this was my preference. And then maybe because I was particularly sort of more excited about it.
I think you were more excited about the view. She was more excited about like the community and the people around.
But at the end of the day, we looked at two properties, and she would have been fine really either way at that point. And I suggested this one, and I was excited about it. And then she said, okay, that's the one. Let's do it. We all did it. And then she ended up getting robbed.
Yeah.
She was scared. Her neighbors are a little further away. They're fairly close, but it's still further away. It's a little bit more secluded.
It's more secluded. There isn't as many people.
And there was no electricity that goes there. So right now she's living without electricity because the Kenya Power hasn't brought electricity there. Whereas I think the other place there was electricity.
It would have been cheaper for us to
move, to actually pay to get electricity put in. Anyway. So that was a bit of a sore point. There were a few times where you mentioned it. You were like, I'm really mad that and you said you weren't mad at me. You said, I'm mad at myself.
What happened was like my mom started calling and she was so unhappy and she's like, I don't want to live here. And like, I spent a lot of money. We spent a lot of money buying that property. And like, she was like, I'm not happy here. You know, there was like complaints after complaints after complaints. And I was like, I put so much money on this property already, you know, like if I sell it now, like it's gonna be such a loss. And then I felt like I would complain to you, and almost to like a point of like I would blame you that we bought that property.
Right. So for me, one of the challenging things was having to that was hard for me. And I still sort of felt like it was, of all of our options, it was the best. But I knew, like I said, she got robbed, and then she was unhappy, and then you were really unhappy, and there were these times would come in waves where you would be really kind of depressed about it. So that to me was harder in many ways than had it been the other way around, because now I'm like, because of me, someone else is suffering. I would rather suffer than cause someone else suffering. And so that was
you
really
okay
hard.
with that situation?
No, because in that case, in some ways, it could easily be said that because of me, somebody else was suffering. I made a choice and someone else is suffering. That didn't feel good. However, I kept looking at it saying, I don't think this is going to be, in the long run, I don't think this is going to be bad. So even though there were these moments where I was like, I had to fight feeling that, I would also come back to, there's that, that sort of that old parable about the farmer who's has a horse that runs away, right? And the neighbor comes and he says, "Oh, my horse ran away." And the neighbor says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible." And the farmer says, "Well, we'll see we will see." And then the next day, the horse that ran away comes back with a flock of wild horses, or a herd of wild horses rather. And then the neighbor comes and says, "Oh my gosh, you're so lucky." And he goes, "Well, we will see," right? And then while his son is training one of those wild horses, the son breaks his leg and can't help on the farm. And the neighbor comes and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. This is so terrible." And he said, "We shall see." And then the next day, the army's coming through town and they're taking all able-bodied young men to go to war, but the son has a broken leg, so can't go and is ultimately spared. So it's kind of this little story of like, let's just wait and see what comes. And that was challenging, and I think that's important, because ultimately what happened at the end of the day is that it ended up being the right choice between the two.
It did.